New problems for Mercedes F1. So we're going to be going through that in today's video. There is a lot to talk about. So guys, make sure you like this video, and don't forget, if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. So guys, let's get straight into the first story. So Hamilton puts Mercedes on edge. We can't be stubborn. Lewis Hamilton is not satisfied all with the first half of the season of 2022. While Mercedes showed progress over the months, the driver regrets that it fell behind the other teams. He therefore believes that Mercedes must work to solve the problems. Now, I do completely agree with what Lewis Hamilton has to say. As you all know, Mercedes has been at the top of the game for 7 to 8 years, and it's really difficult to see how they have been performing this season, where I really do think they deserve the first or second spot if they got the car up to standard. So from 2014, Hamilton got used to competing for the world title every year, but that has changed this year. Mercedes saw problems with porpoising, Ferrari and Red Bull Racing, among others, pushed them further away, leaving the German racing team to settle for the sub-top. I think fundamentally we have to acknowledge that others have done a better job, and whichever philosophy they have taken has worked well for them. Hamilton acknowledged in conversation with Viaplay. We have to be conscious of that moving forward. We can't be stubborn and say no, our way is definitely the way and will definitely work, because we would wait for years for that to happen. So Hamilton does hope for more Grand Prix wins. However, it appears to be Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, with the Dutchman on the winning side. So obviously there is still a lot to it, and I think Lewis Hamilton wants to get back to winning ways. Now, they have been doing a pretty good job the last 2 Grand Prix, getting double podium, and I think there is still going to be more to come. I do think George Russell is going to be able to really be in that top 5 consistently, and Lewis Hamilton can definitely get to that Grand Prix, that pole position, I think, in the upcoming Grand Prix. So hopefully they will be able to pull it together, and I think that is honestly fantastic for Mercedes, but there are a lot of problems that come with it. So when it comes to the problems, Wolff's cautious over Mercedes' progress. Toto Wolff has refrained from declaring Mercedes back in the fight with Red Bull and Ferrari, despite a recent upturn in results. And this comes to a surprise because, as you all know, a lot of people were getting very confident that Mercedes were back on track, and they are doing everything they can. However, Mercedes endured a torrid start for the season, from the team suffering from porpoising and other bouncing phenomena more than its rivals, hampering its outright performance as it searched for answers. Although lacking pace to Red Bull and Ferrari, Mercedes had scored the same number of podiums as the latter and trails the Scuderia by just 30 points in the Constructors' Championship. The Silver Arrow's improvement have been highlighted by a run of 6 consecutive podium appearances headed into the summer shutdown, with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both in the top 3 in France and also in Hungary. They were great races, and Russell also shone in qualifying in Budapest, taking a maiden F1 pole position. He wasn't able to contain it, but actually ended up still getting podium with that 3rd position, which I think was great. So we all know what happened to Lewis Hamilton during that run. Obviously, he was having a lot of DRS problems, and I do think he actually could have gotten first place if he started a bit more higher up. But it is what it is, and you just have to keep moving forward. And I think Lewis Hamilton definitely put up such a great race, getting that 2nd position. So despite maintaining a constant presence towards the front of the field, Wolff stopped short of declaring Mercedes as being back in contention for race wins. Asked if the performance in Hungary was related to the tricky condition, team principal Wolff said, "I don't know. I don't want to say suddenly we are right back in the game and we can win races, because we don't think that is the case." I think this was true to a sense. I think Mercedes have been somewhat back, but I do agree that the tricky conditions, the rain, all that stuff did play a little bit of a part in order for Mercedes to get that double podium. Now, do I not think that Mercedes can do that on a regular basis? No, I think they can do it, and I think they are capable of it, but I love how Toto Wolff isn't getting too ahead of himself, and there's still obviously a lot of problems that come with it. We landed well in Budapest on Saturday, and we reaped the results, but I don't think we are close enough to Ferrari and Red Bull to really fight them as of yet. But lots of learning, and it is a portion to get wrong also. So I think it's better for them to actually think like that instead of thinking the other way, where they're getting overly confident and end up making big mistakes. So I think that's honestly fantastic to see from Toto Wolff. It really does show why he's such a great principal and what he has done, for Mercedes this long run. But on other news, Russell sees clear chance for Mercedes to actually close in on Red Bull and Ferrari. So while Toto Wolff has a different opinion, George Russell is all ears. So with back-to-back double podiums for Mercedes at the French and Hungarian Grand Prix, Prix, the Silver Arrows have displayed signs of improvement as 2022 has progressed. George Russell has given his take on what teams can achieve going forward. So when it comes to this, George Russell believes that technical regulation changes coming into effect at the Belgian Grand Prix could help Mercedes to close the gap to Red Bull and Ferrari. New rules regarding porpoising will be put under place, as well as regulations regarding the skid planks under the floor of F1 cars. These changes will revolve around the flexibility of the floor's bottom plates. Russell is hopeful that the impact of this could reduce the gap between the Silver Arrows and their rivals. Can Mercedes close the gap to Red Bull and Ferrari? When asked how close Mercedes are to matching their rivals, Russell admitted that the recent pace of Red Bull has been hard to reach. Max and Red Bull are cruising, Russell told Sky Sports F1. I think Max and Charles, they're on a similar level at the moment. I really feel for Charles because he's doing a superb job and he's been on the receiving end of a lot of bad luck. Max and Red Bull are just absolutely solid week in and week out. We've seen from the last couple of race weekends, they can just bring a car home and pick up the pieces. And I do completely agree with this. I do want to be optimistic, okay? I really hope Mercedes does very well. But you have to respect it that Max Verstappen is honestly driving like a maniac, and he is honestly probably going to win the championship. So Red Bull, it is going to be hard to catch up to them, but I do think Ferrari can be overtaken by Mercedes. I think George Russell and Lewis Hamilton can definitely do it, but it is just a bit hard to take over Red Bull and Max Verstappen, as they are really keeping up and really doing a great job getting in, whether it's first, second, or even third when it comes to finishes. So there's no doubt we're making progress as a team. We're finishing almost a minute behind the race winner at the start of the season. Now it's 10 seconds in the last couple of races. If we can continue on that path, we'll definitely be in the hunt. Spa is going to be interesting with some changes to some regulations, which may bring other teams towards us. And I think we as a team have a lot of confidence in ourselves and faith that we are doing a great job, and there's no reason we can't be in that mix. So like I said, I really do love the confidence. It is just kind of hilarious to see on the difference between the two. Obviously, you saw Toto Wolff say something different where he doesn't want to get too cocky, but George Russell on the other hand says, you know, I can race everyone and beat everyone ASAP. So I absolutely love the contrast between the two. So I did want to talk about this, the area in which Mercedes are dominating Red Bull and Ferrari this season. So obviously Red Bull and Ferrari are still above. However, I do see a little bit of things that Mercedes can and are really flourishing in, which is honestly fantastic, not only for Mercedes, but also just for racing overall. So in a positive spin on Mercedes' challenging season, Lewis Hamilton holds the accolade for having completed the most laps in the 2022 season so far. The Briton currently leads the lap count charts, having completed 781 out of a possible 782 laps this season. Hamilton's only lost lap came when he fell one lap behind eventual race winner Max Verstappen during a difficult Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Mercedes have so far had an impressive reliability from their W13 cars. George Russell would likely have been completed every lap of the season without his first lap collision at the British Grand Prix. Second on the list is Aston Martin's Lance Stroll, who fell 10 laps short of completing every lap this season, who lost 5 laps with late issues at the Grand Prix and lost the remaining 5 to be lapped in other races. It's a similar story for third place Esteban Ocon, who lost 15 laps from his one retirement of the season at the British Grand Prix, then a further 2 laps at other events. Despite 2 retirements, championship leader Max Verstappen is 6th on the list, having completed all but 23 laps of the season so far. His Bahrain Grand Prix retirement occurred with 3 laps to go, whilst his DNF in Australia was 20 laps shy of a checkered flag. So, all the other end of the table, we also have Zhou has completed the fewest laps and suffered the most retirements in 2022. The Alfa Romeo rookie has only completed 77% of his laps this season, having retired from 5 events. Also, Ferrari's Carlos Sainz is second last on the list and has completed just 1 more lap than Zhou. And then as a poor reflection of Ferrari's problems in the list, Sainz is also behind Aston Martin's Sebastian Vettel, who was ruled out of the first 2 races of the season due to COVID. Ferrari's championship challenger Charles Leclerc is 14th overall, just ahead of Red Bull's Sergio Perez. So I honestly think this is huge, guys, and I think Lewis Hamilton being at the top of this is honestly great to see. George Russell isn't too far off as well. You know, he actually has had a number of 730 laps completed, which is actually 93%, and only had 1 DNF. So I think Mercedes are a very consistent team, and I think that's where they really do shine and really does show how great Mercedes are doing so far, despite all the problems problems that they are having. Now, in other news, there's actually something else I did want to mention, which was actually Bottas speaking out on Mercedes that it's not a very relaxed atmosphere. Valtteri Bottas did not leave Mercedes of his own volition, but soon realized that he would be better suited to it elsewhere. At Alfa Romeo, the Finn feels more appreciated and plays an important role within the team. The atmosphere is also very different to that of previous employer, Bottas told Viaplay in an interview. So, when Nico Rosberg suddenly decided to hang up his helmet after winning the world title in 2016, an unexpected opportunity presented itself for Bottas. The Finn, who was still driving for Williams at the time, was allowed to take over the world championship seat. He joined Mercedes with big ambitions and won 3 races in his first season with the team, but the following year did not go his way. In 2018, he recorded no wins, which brought him criticism. After this, Bottas never really managed to convince, and his role at the team mainly revolved around helping Lewis Hamilton. So I think this is a little bit unfair because I think Bottas could have won so many races, but obviously you are playing right-hand man to Lewis Hamilton. It was not easy for sure. Bottas begins his story. Switching from Williams to Mercedes was a big change for the driver, and he put quite a pressure of himself at the start. I wanted to win everything immediately. It was really hard to accept that it didn't happen in the first couple of years, and then accepting it to be a supporting role, that was something I couldn't quite get my head around, the Finn continued to say. It was not very relaxed atmosphere, if I'm honest. Everything was therefore about performing, and having fun was not a priority. That's quite different to what I feel now. Now I enjoy F1 a lot, so I think this is very fascinating to hear from Bottas. As you all know, I actually was a pretty big Bottas fan. I loved how he was such a great supporting role for Lewis Hamilton, and it is pretty hard. When you're a racer and you think you're the best in the world, it's hard to actually, give that seat up and just help someone like Lewis Hamilton, especially after all the championships he has won. So I do understand where Bottas is coming from. I do still think Mercedes is a great team. I know it is my favorite team, but when it comes to all of this, I think it's honestly very interesting. Guys, let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you soon. Peace.